66. My DOC is 115897.
Together, would you sit up and let's have a conversation? With your DOC, I mean, you've been in the game for a while.
Yes, sir.
That true?
Yes, I have.
Let me explain the process to you, Mr. Gilbert. I will read some information into the record. Once that information is in the record, we'll conduct a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we allow the staff at Claiborne to have comments or remarks. Again, we'll hear from the assistant district attorney from Jefferson Parish, Mr. Randy Myers, who would like to make a statement. At the very end, before we vote, we will allow you to make a statement on your behalf. You understand the process?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Gilbert, your master record indicates that you're a second felony offender. Your offense is armed robbery. You were sentenced on December 18th, 1986. You received a 99-year sentence without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension in sentence. Your parole date was November 4th, 2011. Your good time date, and I'm going to check that with your master record. The good time date is September 19th, 2039, and your full term date is August 27th, 2085. Is all this information correct?
According to my rap sheet, yeah. But the Social Security number that's on that rap sheet is incorrect.
Have you tried to correct?
It says that the Social Security number on it is incorrect.
Have you tried to correct that?
Yes, I have. In 1993, I did.
Okay.
And
well,
they never.
If criminal parole doesn't take care of those matters, then you need to talk to your classification officer, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Gilbert, your case has been assigned to me, and let's start the conversation by telling us how old you are, Mr. Gilbert.
I'm 55 years of age.
55 years of age, and you've been incarcerated for the last 36 years on a 99-year sentence for armed robbery. Is that correct?
Not exactly 36 years, but 35. August the 29th of this year here would be 36 years.
Right. And I rounded off because August is right around the corner. So basically 35 years in about 9 months.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about your program. Tell me some of the programs that you've completed in the 35 years and 10 months that you've been incarcerated.
I haven't participated in any of them except Thinking for a Change. That was the only one that was taking that Angola.
Yeah, and that amazes me. You've been in state facilities almost 32 years. You first went to Angola in 1987, and I think you had state facilities until you left 2017. So why didn't you take the programs that were necessary to rehabilitate yourself?
Well, sir, number one, I'm actually innocent on this charge. I'm actually innocent on this charge.
Okay,
And
that's something that this committee doesn't handle.
okay, well, I just want to complete what I want to say.
Go ahead.
I had a writ pending in court, and I had a response from the United States Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal in January of 1993 through a classification by the name of Vernon Smith. And
Now, that does not have anything to do with this hearing.
I understand that.
We're here to see
I'm
whether or
only
not.
saying why I haven't participated in the program.
Okay. So basically, you were in state facilities from 1987 to 2017, 30 years, and you completed one program.
Yes.
Was it maybe because that you were maybe in extended lockdown, or you were in working cell block a lot of that time?
Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert, you've lost 1,245 days of good time because of disciplinary problems. That equals to 3 years and 5 months off your good time date.
Yes, I know, and that's because they've been treating me unhealthy and in gold. I never received a double portion, and I just couldn't push myself to work like that.
How many write-ups do you think you've had in 35 years of incarceration?
No, I wouldn't. I would say less than 100.
Less than 100. When was your last disciplinary write-up at any institution?
I don't remember the exact date of it, but it was at Rayburn.
So it was before 2017. Is that correct?
What date was it?
You went to St. John the Baptist in October 2019. So that's when you left Rayburn in October 2019.
Right, correct.
You don't remember when you had the write-up?
Not the exact date on the write-up.
Was it in 2019?
It was in 2018.
Okay. Now, so tell me what your education level is.
I completed school when I was in society.
So you have a high school diploma?
Yes, I do. Not in my prison files here, I don't. But I completed school. And I also have an auto mechanic trade.
Your master record says that you completed the 8th grade.
I would say that's incorrect.
Okay. Tell me about the organizational activities that you participated in the 35 years of incarceration.
I haven't participated in any of them while I was incarcerated.
Tell me about the community service that you performed for fellow offenders while you were incarcerated.
None.
So tell me about your transition plan. What do you plan to live and what do you plan to work if and when you're released?
Well, I would be self-employed. I have a will and I own my own business.
What kind of business?
Well, I own service station, I own a shopping mall, and I'm a self-employed mechanic. I was before I was arrested on this.
Who's been operating your mechanic shop in your mall?
No one has been operating my mechanic shop. The gas station is the service station is a real estate.
Tell me about your job at the facility. What do you do on a daily basis?
What could I do on a daily basis?
What is your job?
In prison?
Yes.
I don't have a job in prison. Not here at Claiborne.
What do you do 24 hours a day?
Well, I don't do anything in there but sit around in that dome and beat it myself.
Have you ever had a mental health evaluation?
Yes, I have. At Rayburn.
And what was the result of that evaluation?
He told me there was nothing wrong with me.
You've never been on mental health medication?
No, sir. See, they can't relate.
Looking at your arrest record, you were arrested 11 times between the ages of 17 and 19. 9 of those arrests, the charges were dismissed or refused by the Jefferson Parish DA's office. You only had 2 convictions on the record, even though you were arrested 11 times. Do you think that getting charges refused or dismissed multiple times encourage you to do other crimes, like rob the Shell station?
I've never been a criminal. I never robbed the Shell station. And I can't explain all of them arrests because it was all the devil being against me. And that's the best thing I can see on my behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. The staff at Revocation make any comments or remarks, and let us know if there's any mental health issues that we should address.
So I'm not familiar with any health, mental issues or anything. I do know I spoke with the lady in the classroom and she said that he did refuse every class offered to him.
He has been offered classes, it is refused class.
Well, I would say this. Can I say this on my behalf?
Yes, sir.
I want you to hear me carefully. When I came to jail, I was free on the inside. About in December of 1996, I ate Pringles. It was around Christmas time. I ate Pringles and other snacks, and a buffer was introduced into my system. And that caused me to be possessed. And due to this thinking of this other person, it,
Gilbert,
it interferes
Gilbert.
with my
Mr. Gilbert,
education.
Mr. Gilbert, I'm gonna end your statement right there.
Okay.
There's no further questions at this time. We're going to hear from the Assistant District Attorney in Jefferson Parish, Mr. Randy Myers.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish, and we're strongly opposed to his request. The victim knew Mr. Gilbert from being a regular customer at the store that he robbed. He obviously has taken no programs to try to rehabilitate himself or try to even help himself. Even, you know, if you accept his position, I didn't commit the crime, he's still done nothing to help himself throughout this thing, and he's lost over 1,000 good days with none restored. Those reasons we're strongly opposed. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Mr. Gilbert?
I don't care about this.
Mr. Gilbert?
The judge keep calling you.
I'm listening to you.
At this time, you are afforded a brief statement. If you start rambling and talk about other things that are not germane to this hearing, I will stop you. Give us your closing statement.
Well, you say it's not related, but it's all related to my case. And according to the response that I received from the judge, I don't know why I'm going before parole hearing.
Thank you, sir. Are we ready to vote? Mr. Gilbert, based upon a disciplinary conduct that's unacceptable, based upon a lack of rehabilitative program, based on express opposition from law enforcement in the DA's office, my vote is to deny your request. Mr. Freeman.
Based upon you not trying to take any classes, also your denial of the instant offense, I also vote.
Ms. Jackson.
Mr. Gilbert, I feel like in some ways it's fallen through the cracks. From talking to you, it's obvious that you need some mental health treatment. And I hope that you're in a place where there is that available.
No, I don't need any mental health treatment.
The person who needs the treatment is usually the last one who recognizes it. I don't feel like you're equipped in any way to be. You don't have any family support. You don't have any job skills. You are suffering from mental illness, and I don't think you can take care of yourself in the world. So my vote today would be to deny your request for early release, but I would strongly urge the facility, if you have that ability, to have him undergo a mental health evaluation.
I don't want the parole.
Hey, that's all right.
Mr.
Okay.
Gilbert, this morning you have received 3 votes to deny your request. Your request for early release has been denied. Here with that.
I never requested.
Okay. That concludes our business at Fairbourne.
Well, when you think you've seen it all, Louisiana proves you wrong. This isn't the first time we've had a parole hearing similar to this where someone has said, I don't want parole, but I think it's the second. And to start off with, you might be wondering, I know I was like, maybe he is innocent. Maybe, things were going well for him and he was locked up for a crime he didn't do. And man, if I was, I might act the same way. I might be not wanting to take programs and feel. I was trying to feel that way, but and Richard pointed out in the notes, it lists in the documentation he didn't own the pump station. He was a manager. So we start to unravel and we'll go through the documentation here, like what Randy Meyer, the ADA, said, talking about the crimes, where it's pretty certain that he is guilty. The next thing that you need to bring up, though, is should he be in prison or should he be in a psych ward? And frankly, from what we've seen, it's psych ward written all over it. I couldn't believe he he starts to talk about what was it, like 1997 or 1998, and I was kind of like pulled into his story, and I'm just think for a second that was like 22 years prior, and he's saying it as if it happened yesterday, and he's saying that he's eating his Pringles and snacks, and then he became possessed. And I would have loved to have heard the rest of his story about that. But come on, let's be real. I don't think, and as Miss Jackson said when she suggested that he needs psychiatric help, and then he said, I don't need it. And she said, well, it's the one who needs it that is the last to know that they do. And we saw a glimpse into, again, I think, a problem of the system. This man, if anyone should be in a psychiatric facility, it would probably him, but he would probably be very unhappy in one and much rather stay where he is. So that's the catch-22, right? But man, you've got to assume that someone unless he does get psychiatric help, even who knows, but he's gonna be locked up for the rest of his life, because pretty clear that has no chance of making it on the outside. So here's the information that Richard found. We'll go over his case. So facts. Sorry. Can you see it? Try to zoom in a little more. There's like a delay when I zoom it, and see that delay? Okay. The armed robbery of the Roadshell service station of Jefferson Highway took place at about 10:30 p.m. See, now it's just zoomed in again like a minute later. On August 28, 1986. Just think about that. A man entered the cashier area wearing a hat and a handkerchief folded into a triangle that covered his face from nose to chin. Joseph was on duty alone, preparing for his relief to come at 11 p.m. The perpetrator held a revolver and said, "All right, this is it." He then told Shields to go towards the bathroom behind the cashier area and ordered him into the ladies' room. Shields heard him attempting to open the computerized cash register, and a few seconds later, the perpetrator told Shields to come out and open it. He put the pistol to the back of Shields' heads, cocked the hammer and told him to hurry up, and said, "Do you hear it click, bitch?" I didn't say the whole word. I just abbreviated it for those who are wondering. Shields opened the register, and while he was answering the telephone 1186, the perpetrator removed cash and checks from the drawer. He left through the front door, at which point Shields called the police. A total of about $800 was missing from the register, and at some point the perpetrator had taken Shields' wallet containing about $80. That's a pretty good score, $800. $880, 1986, yeah. From robbing a gas station. Shields was positive that the robber was a young man he had seen and waited on several times, and who was known as the Crazy Wayne. He might have been known as that. He might have been crazy all along. He is said to have recognized him from the upper part of his face, his body build, and his voice. He was unable to recall the perpetrator's clothing. The police knew of Crazy Wayne as Wayne Gilbert and arrested him the following morning. At trial, only Shields and a sheriff deputy testified for the state, but the defense presented 8 alibi witnesses who testified to having seen him or been with him at the night of the crime. Gilbert did not testify in his own defense. That's a lot. Eight alibi witnesses. Wow. They put up a real defense here. I mean, you don't often see that. The crime of which Gilbert was convicted is armed robbery. So that was it. They just found him guilty. The defense complained specifically that the perpetrator was not sufficiently identified as the victim saw only the eyes of the perpetrator for only 15 seconds and heard his voice. The only palm print taken from the ladies' room door did not match Gilbert's. The state produced neither the stolen money nor evidence showing, hey man, maybe I'm going to be convinced otherwise. I mean, he's wearing a mask and the guy said that he knew it was him, but that's easily, I mean, it's definitely easy to believe that it wasn't him. He came into the parole hearing slumped back in his chair with all the attitude, and Mr. O'Shea's like, sit up. And I'm wondering, I'm like, wow, this guy doesn't want to get out. It's quite remarkable, right? I think he's the definition of being institutionalized. Shields testified that he's seen Gilbert at Station 3 to 4 times a week over the preceding 2 or 4 months. There was a small convenience store in the office, and Shields had waited on him, usually viewing him from a distance of only 8 to 24 inches. They had conversed, and he was familiar with his voice. On the night of the robbery, the cashier's area was well lit with fluorescent lighting. Despite the handkerchief and hat, Shields stated that the upper part of the thief's nose, his eyes, and most of his forehead was visible. The hat was not pulled across his eyes. Although they were face to face for an estimated 15 seconds only, Shields has ample time to hear the voice as he kept talking and telling him what to do. The witnesses further explained that he had an occasion to ask the defendant his name on one occasion when he waited on him. The defendant gave a name other than Wayne, and another employee who was present confirmed that the customer was Wayne. Shields testified that helped to cement the identification of him, and I had seen him a few times around the edges of the property after that. He explained his inability to remember the type of shirt the perpetrator was wearing because his attention was focused on the face and not the clothing. I would have thought he'd say the gun. But again, that can be coached. A little bit of coach witness, right? I don't know. 6 of the 8 alibi witnesses all covered the defendant for the hours of 10:30 p.m., although the stories were conflicting. And 1187 rambling as to timing other than 10 to 11 p.m. And as to other details of the evening, they had seen him at the home of 3 of the witnesses before that time, and sometime after 10, 4 of them and Gilbert went riding to Bourbon Street, returning after midnight. And that could be the problem with the defense. When you bring up all those witnesses, they kind of will cancel each other out if they're conflicting and not strong. That could be the problem. It's probably better to bring in just 2 witnesses that can have the same story. Faced with contradictory versions of the evening's events, the jury weighed the credibility of each witness and eventually believed the testimony of Joseph. It is not the function of the appellate court to assess credibility, and it will not be viewed sufficient as evidence. Defense complains that the sentence of 99 years without benefit of probation or suspension of sentence is constitutionally excessive. He also asked that we examine the record of error to patent, and I would agree, man. It's like, it was a bad crime. It is armed robbery. It's traumatizing, but the idea that you get 99 years is just absurd. It's like you can get 25 years, okay? 99 years. we've seen people get shorter sentences for taking lives. It's just crazy. Now, I'm not saying if he had gotten out, one would assume he'd be locked back up pretty much immediately. So, this is just a lost cause. In this case, before the record does not reveal the defendant was apprised of his rights. Da, da, da. Oh, okay, they're talking about the different appeals. We'll go to the next, see what's here. Here they give a little bit more information. So he was 20 years when he was charged with armed robbery. 20 years old, convicted by a jury in 1986 and sentenced to serve 99 years. Okay. In 3 years since you've become an adult for criminal purposes, your record is absolutely one of horror. You've committed batteries and burglaries, although you have only one conviction, that being the conviction before Judge Tiemann in April of 86. Subsequent to that conviction, while you were on probation on the 28th day of August 86, it's alleged that you committed armed robbery. Despite what you tell the court, this court is absolutely convinced that you are the offender in this particular situation. The court is also convinced, likewise, that your prior juvenile record indicates not only your total disrespect for the law, but your total disrespect for the rights, property, privacy, and safety of others. Further, this court is convinced that your prior records, your rehabilitation cannot be accomplished, and you have indicated no ability to be rehabilitated. You have neither sought rehabilitation. Because of your prior records, I'm convinced that society would suffer because of your activity. Society does not have to tolerate that type of activity or have people like you in the community. Accordingly, under the guidelines and having considered all of the mitigating circumstances, this court specifically finds that there is an undue risk that the period of suspended sentence probation you would commit another crime. This is indicated by your present criminal record and your juvenile record. You are in need of custodial environment, provided most effective by your commitment to the institution, which would neither lessen nor depreciate the seriousness of your crime. Mr. Shields, the manager, here it is, where it shows. Oh wait, no, this is not. This is Mr. Shields, the manager of a service station, was held up at gunpoint. It was only by the grace of God that the gun did not go off. The judge set out the three circumstances under the convicted felon. I might say, well, he didn't pull the trigger, but at the same time, when you pull the hammer back, it's anything can happen at that point. I doubt he had good trigger discipline. Yeah. Anyways, it's something that, what can you say? It does seem clear that he needs psychiatric help. But even then, can you get to the point where you can be paroled? I don't know. That would certainly be amazing if we saw him all of a sudden a bunch of years later and he was functioning properly. But I guess because of Act 122, he has a good time date. He's not. And that's why he has the opportunity for parole here. But the fact that he's lost 3 years and 5 months of good time, it can make us appreciate the others that have gained good time, right? With that, I'll let you go.
Do you see is everything correct on the revocation questionnaire, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll read you out your rule violation. During your preliminary hearing, did you request a counsel,
No, sir.
ma'am?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. At this time, I'm gonna read you out your rules violation. You plead guilty or not guilty of a rules violation. You engaged in criminal activity and evidence. You were arrested on 5/1/17/2021 at Pensacola Police Department, in which you were charged with driving under the influence. Fourth, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty, sir.
Not guilty. Counsel, anything you'd like to say on that?
No, I think she was arrested, but this thing is set for trial, and the attorney in Pensacola just called me. I had sent him the link. He was trying to join us also. His name is Ron Johnson. He's the attorney in Pensacola. And this thing is,
Mr. Robert,
yes, sir.
it's set for trial, and the trial date, when is the trial date?
I believe it's the end of, tomorrow is the docket day, and then the trial, I believe, is the last week of February.
Mr.
Do
Wise,
you want to continue?
Mr. Wise, Mr. Johnson, our attorney in Florida, is on now.
Okay, good. He just tried to call me, and I was on with y'all, so I did not answer. So
Okay, being you're the counsel today, do you want to continue this case until after trial date?
I would think, I believe when she got arrested, the agent that was supervising her in Florida contacted Baton Rouge, and they released her until we had a resolution on this, the situation in Florida.
Well, what I'm asking you today, do you want to continue this case until after trial date? And after that, we can reset the date.
That would be great, but we need her out of jail so I can get her to Pensacola to attend the trial.
Well, they can make arrangements for that. But what I'm asking, you want to continue this case today until trial date?
I think that would probably be the most expeditious thing to do, because if she's revoked here, there's no way she can go resolve the situation in Florida. And if she's found not guilty in Florida, then we have that when we reset the case here. So,
well, that's why I'm asking you to continue till after trial date. That's what you want to do.
yeah, I think that's probably what we need to do.
Mr. Wise,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this case until the disposition of the fourth offense DWI in Pensacola, Florida.
I'll second that, Mr. Wise.
Okay, what date is the trial date, Mr. Robert?
Again, I think Mr. Johnson is on the hearing right now, I believe.
Mr. Johnson. If you would unmute your mic, Mr. Johnson.
I can get him on the phone if we can't get him on the hearing.
All right, I'm off mute.
There he is. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Maria's,
Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
well, I was just going to tell you the trial date. It's set for February 28th for jury selection.
Okay.
And there's a docket day tomorrow, but
22nd.
if she doesn't have a bond, I mean, there's probably no way to get a writ to get her back here by the 28th.
If I may interject, there is a bond that we placed, an extradition bond, that is still in force in St. Tammany Parish. She was out of jail for about 2 hours. I told her to report to the parole office, and the parole officer there put her back in jail. So as long as the hold is lifted by the parole board, the bond is still in place. It's the same bond that was in place in Florida, and I will transport her to Florida for the 28th. And we can put her on, she had
On today's date, we're here to continue it. What y'all work out between then and there, that's between y'all. But today, this case is strictly the case. We're going to be continuing this case till after February 28th, 2022. Okay,
All
on
right.
court date.
Okay,
I want to thank each and every one that attended today's hearings.
Mr. Reese,
yes, sir.
you need to get with the parole officer in St. Tammany and arrange for that. And he will send the paperwork and one of the board members will sign off on it. But it has to originate from the parole officer.
Okay, I will do that. As soon as we hang up, I will do that. And like I said before, they had removed the hold before, and that's why we had the extradition hearing. We posted a bond. So as long as the hold's off, we're all good to go, and she will be in Florida for the 28th. But I'll get with the
Okay,
parole
well,
office.
thank each and every one that attended the hearings today. Thank you. The case has been continued.
Thank you so much.
I don't think I understand really what happened.
All right. I'm going to call what we have to do is the parole office here has to send the paperwork to Baton Rouge to remove the hold. So the bond is still in place. So we get you out and then we take you to Florida for the 28th.
Okay.
All righty.
So,
Mr. Wise, can we please adjourn?
thank you.
Your mom and dad are here.
Mr. Wise, you're muted.
At this time, the time is 8:39 a.m., February 15th, adjourned at St. Tammany Parish. Thank you.
Well, that hearing was another classic hearing where you have Jim Wise leading the show, and we're going to jump into her second hearing. Thank you, Richard, for piecing this together. So we're going to come back, and it's interesting because we're coming back just a few months later, actually. It's May 17th, so only 3 months, not the February that they were talking about. So I'm curious to see what happened. But I do want to vent a little bit. And I cut this hearing a little shorter than it was. It started off with the woman who makes those introductions. And she basically did everything that she needed to do. And then she said, Jim Wise, now it's your turn. And Jim Wise was like, didn't hear anything. He repeated all the same questions that woman had asked. So it starts off like that. And then it went on the way that you saw it. And I just can't stand Jim. I don't like him. And he's been retired for a couple of years now. We're just going back, and that's why we're seeing him, so much of him. But it again is stunning to me that he's been the longest serving, up until he left, the longest serving board, or up maybe the history, the longest serving board member, I think for 16 years or something, where he had sorry, I just got a phone call, had to take it, and I have no idea what I was talking about, but I think something about Jim Wise and him being the longest serving member, right? Like 16 years or something, which is just crazy. He was like an investigator at Angola, so I know that was one of his roles before becoming a parole board member, but the guy is just whatever. So here's one thing that Richard found before we go into the next hearing. And this is from 2008. So, who knows if she was on something and they just missed it, but it's at a rush hour accident, snarl traffic in Louisiana, Highway 21, for about an hour as rescue workers extracted a woman from a car that flipped after slamming into the back of an SUV. Investigators say 30-year-old Maria told officers that she was applying makeup when her car slammed into the back of a Dodge Durango that had slowed to a stop on the highway. That's always dangerous when you slow to a stop on a highway, but it's more dangerous because you don't know who's driving behind you. Covington Police spokesman Lieutenant Jack West said the crash caused the car to roll onto the passenger side, slide on the highway, and then flip. And it took them an hour to get her out of there, and it seemed that she was saved by her seatbelt, and she was cited for careless operation. And again, I do wonder, was she on something? We will never know. Of course, it could be anything, but that's just one incident. She's initially locked up for like fourth DUI or something like that. I think this is her. This is her Florida mugshot that Richard provided, which she looks frankly much healthier in prison. We saw her parents there, and it's just so sad. But let's go check out this parole hearing and see what happened.
Impostado, would you introduce yourself to the parole panel, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Maria Empestado,
What's your DOC number?
489475.
And I have a counsel this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, would you introduce yourself for the record? I'm sorry, your microphone's muted.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Robert Reese on behalf of Ms. Empostado. I'm technically challenged on these computers still.
Okay. So Ms. Impostado, do you have a parole revocation questionnaire in front of you?
No, ma'am, I don't.
And we'll put it up on the screen just a moment. While they're doing that, let me explain how this will work. I'll be reading the allegations against you, after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then we'll have a conversation about your plea. At the end, we'll allow your attorney to make a presentation if he chooses to. And if you have any questions along the way, Mr. Reese, please, just jump in.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Ms. Maria, is that your signature at the bottom of that page dated, I think, February 9th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right, so thank you, ma'am. I can take it down. Let me jump to the allegations. And you have retained counsel today. That's Mr. Robert Reese.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're conducting a revocation hearing if you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole as follows. Condition 1, condition number 4. You engaged in criminal activity as evidenced by your arrest May 17, 2021 by the Pensacola Police Department, in which you were charged with driving under the influence, fourth or subsequent. Although these charges were not crossed by the state of Florida, during your preliminary hearing on January 7, 2022, you admitted to being under the influence of OxyContin at the time of the offense. How do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Second is also condition number 4. On August 19, 2021, you tested positive for methamphetamines and amphetamines. How do you plead?
Guilty.
3 is also number 4. On February 24th, 2022, you tested positive for cocaine, buprenorphine, amphetamines, and methamphetamines. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Number 4 is also number 4, condition number 4. You admitted to partying with some friends where you snorted cocaine and took some pills on March 20th, 2022. How do you plead?
Not guilty. That was under the same date, not the. I don't know why they wrote it on a different date, but it was all one scene.
All on March 4th. Okay, we'll let you explain in just a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Condition number 5 is also condition number 4. You further admitted to snorting cocaine on March 22nd, 2022. How do you plead?
I don't. Guilty to one of them, but all together.
Okay, we'll get there.
Yes, ma'am.
Condition number 10, as of this date, you fail to pay any supervision fees. You're currently in arrears $315. How do you plead?
Guilty.
All right, your case has been assigned to Mr. Freeman. Would you answer this question?
Good morning, Ms. Impostado.
Good morning, sir.
I'll pronounce that right.
It's okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. The charges in Florida, did you blow for them to take a sobriety test?
Yes, sir, I did, and I passed.
Passed, okay.
Yes,
But
sir.
now you're saying that, even though you admitted to using oxycodone at your preliminary hearing, that you were not using oxycodone when they stopped you?
No, sir, I had a cast on my foot. I had just had surgery, and I had oxycodone in my system. I'd never had taken it that day, but I was as a prescribed medication. I'd taken it the day before, the night before, the day before that. And also I was already under arrest when they asked for a urine analysis. So I knew that I didn't have to take one if it was my right to say no. So I just said no. I didn't want to incriminate myself anymore, but I never admitted to taking anything that morning.
Did you have a prescription for that medication?
Oh, yes, sir.
Provide that at your preliminary hearing?
No, sir, I don't believe I provided it, but I don't think so. No, sir, I didn't have an opportunity to gather it.
So, they returned you from Florida. Did they let you out on bond?
Yes, sir, they let me out on bond.
So while you out on bond is when you tested positive for the meth on 8/19/21?
Yes, sir, I relapsed and tested positive and discussed it with my parole officer. And then I went to a rehab in California, and then I started to go to an outpatient back in Louisiana, and that's when I had came in, and I didn't get to finish that the rehab that I was finishing, but I had started it, and I believe I sent all the paperwork to y'all about the rehab. I got some character witness letters and just all my drug tests, my negative drug test screens. But I was in the middle of it. I finished the rehab and I was in the middle of IOP, the outpatient part, when I came in. But yeah, I had relapsed after the accident. I got very, very depressed, and I relapsed, made some bad poor choices.
So the rehab just really didn't work. You did relapse.
Yes, sir. Well, I was in the middle of outpatient. I just my inpatient part was done, but I had just started outpatient. I was 2 months in, and I had 3 months more to go.
Okay. On 3/24/22, you tested positive for cocaine, butyron, amphetamines, and methamphetamines. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I had a prescription, and I had provided it for the officer for the benzodiazepines. I gave it to Jessica Sharp. My brother took a picture and sent it over to her. But a friend of mine passed away, and they had a small party afterwards, and I relapsed at the party. I snorted cocaine, and evidently it lit the test up for all these other things. That's what was in it. But I relapsed at the.
So when you get under pressure and you're having problems, that seems to be your trigger for relapsing, correct?
Yes, sir. I definitely have a way of not making the right decisions when I'm down and out in my past. I've learned from them, but I've definitely made some poor choices that I acknowledge.
Do you consider yourself a drug addict?
Yes, sir. I've been in denial for most of my life, but as of this year, this program has taught me that yes, I am an addict, and that I guess that was like the first step they talked about. So yeah, as of this year, yes, sir. I understand that I am, and I do have a problem.
So what are you going to do to try to combat this addiction?
Well, the program this that I went to, I was in the middle of it. It a lot to do with my mental health. So I need to, number one, keep up with that. Depression and anxiety are I deal with that very seriously in my life that I need to, put first. Also, my environment, the support system, people that I hang around with. And my father always told me, the company you are the company you keep, and it's so true. The 12 steps and also goals. The rehab, the place that I went to, it talks about, positive goals and you're changing your mind frame. Perception is everything. Instead of punishing myself over and over again, just try and pick myself up and move forward.
So what are you gonna do if we do not revoke you today? What are you gonna do to control this drug problem, this addiction that you have?
Well, I'm already enrolled back in IOP. So I'll be 4 days a week in intensive outpatient, where they actually pick me up early in the morning and they drop me off in the afternoon. Therapy and group therapy, as well as my psychiatrist.
Okay, so that second time I heard you kind of mention some mental health problems.
Yes, sir.
So are you on medication for these mental health problems currently?
I was taking medication outside of jail, but in jail I don't they won't. It's a antidepressant called Wellbutrin. I don't know. They don't offer it for me. So that's immediately for me to go out and go get put on that immediately is very important. I was this part of my the outpatient portion of the recovery is about mental health. I'm at cognitive behavioral health. So it touches a lot on mental health and how to stay stable.
During your period of supervision, did they ever try administrative sanctions on you?
No, sir. I've never had any sanctions for the last 2 years.
They never give you jail for a few days here and there?
If I could interrupt for a second, I know she was sanctioned because she was charged with absconding from Florida when she left Florida without notifying the parole office there, and she went to the rehab in California. But she came back and she was incarcerated, and they did reprimand her for that, as I remember. And then to refresh y'all's memory, we had a parole revocation hearing, but because of the pending charges in Florida, y'all were lenient enough to let her out so we could take her back to Florida and resolve the charges there, which we did very favorably. And then she came back to Louisiana, and I think she was in touch with the parole office but when she got back, but then she had the dirty urine test once she got back.
Were you ever working while you were out?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was working. I was working for a pizzeria, in a little restaurant, and as well in another restaurant in the kitchen.
Did you attempt to pay any fees? I mean.
Oh, yes, sir. I paid all of my fees in Florida. I paid every month. I'm all caught up. The only fees that I owe are the last 6 months that I've been in jail. Those are the $300 fees. But yes, sir. I paid for the last 2 years. I paid every week, every month.
Made a good effort.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Good faith. Okay. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chairman. I'm sure Mr.
Ms. Impastato, have you ever done long-term inpatient treatment?
No, sir. This is this being the 2 months, and then the IOP for 3 months. That's the longest term.
Now this inpatient, this IOP you're talking about, you said it's 4 days. What are the 4 days?
Which 4 days?
No, what 4 days do you go a week?
Well, depending on your area, but usually like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
What about Saturday and Sunday?
Those days I'm at home or I'm able to work.
On your own. On your own.
Yes,
that hasn't worked out very well, has it?
Well, I just started it, but no, sir. I did.
But I'm talking about the past. Let's talk about the past. That hasn't worked out very well.
I did have a hiccup.
You've been arrested a number of times. You were in Florida. You got a break. They let you out until you come back and you relapse. Right? How long have you been using drugs?
Sir?
How long have you been using drugs? Abusing drugs is the question.
Alcohol was, I was abusing alcohol for the majority of my life. Drugs, I just, the last year of my life, I really started using drugs.
Ms. Impastato, I think you need some treatment. I believe that. I do not believe outpatient is the answer for you. How long have you been in, what's the longest you've ever been in prison?
5 years.
You were in prison for 5 years in Louisiana?
Yes, sir.
Did you do any drug treatment programs or alcohol treatment programs while you were in prison?
Yes, sir. I took advantage of all the classes that they had.
What did you take?
Sir?
What courses did you take in substance abuse?
It was just I don't know what course it was. Just a 3-month substance abuse program, I believe, that you went to maybe once a week.
Have you ever gone to Steve Boyle? Have you ever tried to get into a long-term facility in the Department of Corrections?
Whatever the program was called that I was in when I was in, yes, sir, I went. I tried to get in. I tried to take advantage of every program that they had.
Well, I hear you. Steve Hoyle is a long 9-month, very intensive program dealing with both substance abuse and mental health. You didn't go to that, did you?
Not a 9-month one, sir, no.
Do you believe that would help you?
I would make anything help me that I would go to. I don't know if it had a lot, if they're giving the medicine, that mental health part, but I believe that anything that put in front of me, I'll use it for the best, my ability to make it help me. I believe it's about my desire, and if I did fall, but I'm ready to get back up. Also, I have something, and with the VOA for 3 months, ready for me if I step out the doors today. I've been proactive in planning, whatever kind of help that I need so that I can carry on with my life so I'm never in this situation again.
Ms. Impastato, I appreciate you talking with me. I appreciate your honesty. You need help. You can't do it on your own. And I'm afraid that if I vote to let you go outpatient, I'm setting you up to fail. I think you need some long-term inpatient treatment to give you the tools to be able to maintain your sobriety. You have your release date, your long-term date is like 2029, isn't it? So if you get revoked, you've got a lot of time to go back to prison. Is that right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Again, if I could interject something, I know I've spoken with Roxanne from the VOA program. She did interview Ms. Impastato, and I understand that they send her away from this environment to Rayville, Louisiana for the inpatient, and then they have an outpatient program there on site that they participate in for 6 months, is what Roxanne told me. So that would be the total of 9 months. And I did mention to Roxanne about the dual, the need for the dual treatment, the mental health and the substance abuse. And I believe they offer that. So, but she is a bit approved for that. And they don't even let her leave the jail. They pick her up at the jail, and then deliver her to Rayville. So.
Is there anything else you'd like us to know, Mr. Reed?
Just at the charges in Florida, we did go down there, we picked the jury, and that day they changed their minds, and after reviewing everything, dismissed for insufficient evidence. So those charges were completely dismissed. She wasn't even charged with a traffic violation. And I provided the local parole office here with a copy of that non-pros from the state of Florida after that happened. So I think y'all probably should have that.
Ms. Impastato, is there anything you'd like to say to us?
Yes, ma'am. Just I acknowledge my mistakes, and I'm ready to do whatever I have to do in order to right them. I know I've been on parole for 2 years now, and I have 2 dirty urines out of probably about 10. I know that that's not good. Just thank y'all for at least just time to speak, for being here, and I'm ready to just take action and get this forward, so I never have to come here again.
Well, I think you made a big step when you acknowledged your habit. This year, as you said, I don't feel like that, so that's huge. Okay, with that, Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Ms. Impastato, there is no doubt you have a severe drug problem. You know, you're out on bond, facing revocation, and you're too dirty, you're in screen. And I hate to say it, I just don't think you can do it on your own. I don't think you can do it outpatient. So I'm gonna vote to revoke your probation, and we're gonna make a recommendation that they send you to the Steve Hall program for long-term treatment.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Impastato, I believe you've got a serious drug problem. We've talked about that. I don't know that jail is the appropriate place for a person with a drug problem. It concerns me that you had this fourth offense DWI in Florida. And I've read the report. I know Mr. Reese, he's a very good lawyer. He did a very good job for you. But something was going on. You were concerned about Oxycontin in your system. And you continued to do that. I would be willing not to revoke you, conditioned upon your going through the long-term treatment program at Steve Point. That way, if you satisfactorily completed that program, then perhaps you could be released. That would be my vote. Is that an approach?
Go to the long-term.
Not to revoke you, but conditioned upon your going and completing the long-term treatment facility at Steve Point. If that is something that passes today, I would strongly urge you, as Ms. Wise often says on our board, sit on the front row, learn as much as you can to be able to get the tools to be able to maintain your sobriety. So good luck to you.
Judge, if I may interject again, I believe that the Stephen Hoyle program, I had spoken with some of the parole officers here, and that was kind of talked about before. And in lieu of revocation, I think Ms. Impastato is willing to do anything to try to get better. And that Stephen Hoyle, if that's the answer, then that's the answer.
Okay. May I speak, madam?
Yes.
Listening to what Mr. Marabella said, I'll agree with him. I'll change my vote, but you must complete the Steve Hall program. You must leave from jail to go to the program. So I don't want you back out on the streets. I want you to go to the program from there if you successfully complete.
All right, Ms. Impastato, I do agree. My vote today is in lieu of revocation, that you can take a long-term VOC substance abuse program. And then with an added special condition upon release, you follow whatever aftercare treatment plan they recommend for you.
That means that I go to prison. It's not the program outside of prison.
Right.
Program in prison. Okay.
Once you successfully complete that program, then you'll be back on supervision.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Bob, good seeing you.
You too, Judge. Take care. One of the parole board members is a retired judge from Baton Rouge who I've known for.
Well, how do you think she did? I'm sorry to share that, as Richard pointed out, that she passed away just 8 months after this parole hearing date. I'm not sure. I thought it took longer to pass Steve Hoyle. I'm not sure the circumstances if it happened in Steve Hoyle or, but we'll honor her memory. And I've learned quite a lot about her from reading her obituary. It's, you just never know. She was a bodybuilder. She had accomplished a lot, and you just wouldn't understand that from just watching these parole hearings. She had a family that loved her. You could clearly see that. Hired that attorney who knew Mr. Mirabella. That's who he was referring to there at the end. But addiction is real, and it's doesn't discriminate.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Maria, gratia plena, Maria, ave Dominus, ave Dominus, Dominus tecum, et benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus, fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Ave Maria. Ave Maria, Mater Dei,
Well, I gave you a glimpse, and it's just a reminder, right? We watch all these parole hearings and we see people really at their bottom. And I think it's just sometimes helpful to take a step back and always remember that it's the pain and also just the journey to get there. And it's at this day and age, I think a lot of us know someone or love someone that have passed because of addiction, and or even just through taking the wrong thing. It's tragic. It is tragic. And it's interesting what Mr. Mirabella said. He's like, I'm not sure that prison's the right place for an addict. But I don't think anyone has the answer. If she had gotten her full sentence, she'd probably still be here. But there you have it. And with that, I'll let you go.
A first felony offender. Offense, sexual battery. Sentencing date, July 21st, 2015. Sentenced to a total of 7 years. Parole date, June 24, 2021. Good time, not eligible. Full term, July 11, 2022. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wise.
You'll be able to get on that on there's video. I don't know why it's like that.
Okay, Mr. Nate, if you would, slide up a little closer to the mic. It's echoing pretty bad in there. Okay, okay, Mr. Nate, sex offender program, I see you hadn't completed them. What phase you in the sex offender program?
I completed it. I don't know why they didn't show that it was completed. I got my certificate and everything. And I checked with the guy that runs it here to get it posted to see why it didn't complete. He never got back with me. He just said it showed complete. So
You completed one phase of it. There's 4 phases of it, all 4 phases.
I completed all 4 phases. I have a certificate that I sent to y'all and the mail in my package and everything.
Okay, well, let's go on from there. During the time you're incarcerated, what are you doing now at the prison? Do you have trustee status inside the prison?
I had trustee status since 2015, the end of 2015. I started working in the kitchen as a baker. And from there, I went to working on the hall as a hall man. And from there, I went to work in the car wash for the compound. I got shipped to Webster Parish for this SO program. And upon that coming back, I returned back to my current job I had before I left.
Okay, let me ask you, your relationship with the victims in this case.
What you asking me, what's my relationship?
Yes.
That was my wife's niece.
It was your wife's niece.
Correct.
This went on for a pretty good while, didn't it?
In a sense, it happened roughly probably about twice, maybe 3 times.
Okay. If you were to get out, what job would you be taking?
I worked at Bancroft Bag for 6.5 years. I left there with good status. They told me if I ever wanted to come back, I could come back. Before I came to jail in 15, I worked at Sapper in Delhi. I had good status there. I told my situation and everything, and they told me upon my release, come back and I'll be able to receive a job there.
Okay, well, what I have here is on 2/10/22. It shows the programs you have. And Bossier Sex Offender Treatment Phase 1, Bossier Sex Offender Treatment Phase 2, and that's all I have on the record. And that was that February the 10th. It was sent to us.
Did you receive my package with my certificate in it?
I'm going over here. But while I'm looking over here, tried to locate everything I could. I couldn't find it. Where did you take phase 3 and 4 of the sex offender program?
Phase 1 and 2 was taken at Bossier. Phase 3 and 4 was taken at Bossier. We had a brief intermission between COVID breakout, and they quarantined us, and that might have been why they didn't post it. But like I said, I have a certificate in my package in the dorm. I didn't know I needed it because I figured everything was straightened out with that.
Well, I'm just going over there. You got other problems. You got strong law enforcement opposition to your release and different things like that. And where would you live? You told me you would live. Are you and the mother still getting along, or is that over with?
The kid's mother?
Yeah.
We still talking. decided on a co-parenting, situation between the kids. Currently, I'm going through a divorce. But we're in good standings and, she encourages me and, I try to do the best I can to uphold that.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
At this time, anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
I just want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to, present myself and, hopefully, everything goes well and I get granted.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, your case has been assigned myself. Today, I'm gonna be voting to deny. You got very strong law enforcement opposition to your release. Very strong victims opposition to your release. And I think you need to work on your programs and write back. At this time, Mr. Roche.
Mr. Nat,
Yes, sir.
you have a full term date less than 5 months from now,
Right.
where you won't be on supervision, but you will have to register as a sex offender.
Right.
And I'm gonna let that process play out based on your proximity of your full term date. I'm going to deny you this morning.
All right, Mr. Nat, likewise, there's opposition from the entire legal
I'm on the
community.
board right now.
There's opposition from the victim and her mother, which is not not your wife or anything, and the proximity to your full term date. And Mr. Nat, one of the things that was disappointing today is that you didn't even acknowledge what you had done. You did not express any remorse for the harm that you caused that young woman. It was just, I've done this, and I'm ready to go home. Well, she can't go home from this. Okay, this is going to be with her for the rest of her life. And I hope you understand that, and I hope you take that into consideration when you're making choices in the future. All right? But you get out in July, so my vote today is to deny your early release.
At this time, I'm going to be voting to deny because of the same reason stated. Today, the board is voting to deny. The time is 12 p.m. That concludes our hearings. I want to thank each and every one of y'all.
I don't have much to add. I agree exactly with what Ms. Jackson said. There is no remorse. There is nothing. It's like, what's the big deal? We have no information. The only information that we have that Richard pointed out is that he's still locked up. So he did something wrong. We're not so sure. We can only speculate, but he did not get out. So at least our children are safe right now. But the DAs don't show up. They don't care. It's just a child. To think that this is his wife's niece, right? And how many times did he do it? Oh, 2 or 3. It's like, what do you mean 2 or 3? First of all, I call BS on that. And second of all, it's like just so nonchalant. Oh, it was 2, maybe 3. And you hear the trauma and you hear that it's just, nothing gets me more fired up than saying that the DA doesn't even take the time to show up and just on behalf of just do it, do what's right. They don't care. They don't care. For the most part, there are exceptions. There are very few. There are so few we know them by name. We can count them on less than one hand. That's disturbing. But that's what's so powerful about doing these hearings. You can see who's real, who's not. Often these DAs, they make these press releases about how they're tough on crime, how they're protecting our children. And it's all BS. Whenever they get a chance for a press release, they do it. Sure, why not? But in reality, they don't care. And I don't know why they don't care. They don't care for whatever. I'm sure some of them have good reasons. They're burnt out. The legislation isn't in their favor. They're overwhelmed. No, I don't know what it is. But here's where you need to take a step back and say no. These are our children. If you're too tired to take it on, then don't do the job. This is children that we're talking about. Can't make it up.
3, classified as a second felony offender, offense, indecent behavior with a juvenile, 2 counts. Sentencing date, November 23rd, 2015. Sentenced to a total of 15 years. Parole date, February 1st, 2022. Good time, not eligible. Full term, 15 years. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. O'Shea.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Good morning, Mr. Trahan. How are you?
All right, yourself.
Good. Thank you for asking. I'm good. My name's Alvin Roche, and I've been assigned your case this morning. We're going to start off by making sure I have your age correct. You're 38 years old.
Yes, sir.
And you are a second felony offender. And you are also a sex offender. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And you served 7.5 years of a 15-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I see that you're currently in sex offender treatment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're in the 3rd phase of sex offender treatment?
I will be completed in 3 months.
So you'll be completing the 3rd phase of sex offender treatment in about 3 months.
Yes, sir.
How long before you enter the 4th phase of sex offender treatment?
The 4th phase, I will be completed in 3 months.
Okay, you say you're currently in the 3rd phase. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We test next week to go to the 4th phase. Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you're saying is that your test, and if you complete the 3rd phase with the testing, you'll enter the 4th phase next month and be completed in the next 3 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me what other programs you've completed since your incarceration.
I have completed going home, staying home, anger management, substance abuse. I am currently enrolled in GED. I would have been finished, but due to the COVID, they have shut that down for a while. It's starting back up very soon.
Tell me why those other programs are not in your record. According to my records, the only program that you've taken and completed is sex offender treatment.
I was at Dixon Correctional Institute, DCI, where I completed going home, staying home, substance abuse, and I forgot the other one.
Anger management.
I believe, yes.
Have you taken any victim awareness?
Sir?
Have you taken victim awareness?
No, sir. I have not been to a facility where they offer that yet. I have been here for 5 years and they do not offer that.
And so you haven't taken Thinking for a Change also?
No, sir. I have too much time for most of the classes at this facility.
Okay, so basically you have a victim who is mentally, physically, and emotionally affected by the crime you committed. It's to the point where she cannot even function. And you haven't taken victim awareness to even imagine what your victim is going through. And I'd like you to take Thinking for a Change also, because you have to change your mindset. You have an assortment of arrests contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile, criminal damage to property, theft, and of course, this offense you were arrested for aggravated rape and oral sexual battery, but you pled to indecent behavior. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it was reduced to that, yes.
Yeah. So the magnitude of your criminal background with contributing to the delinquency of a minor, the violent offenses of criminal damage to property, theft, you've been arrested 4 or 5 times, and basically you have not taken victim awareness or any other programs that would address this. Tell me about your substance abuse issues. When did you start using drugs?
I started using drugs at age 13. I have been sober, clean and sober for the last 5 years.
Okay. Tell me about the substance abuse program you took at DCI. What was the name of the program?
I don't know the name of it offhand.
So if you don't know the name of the program, you can't remember any of the material that you went over. How long was this program?
I believe it was called substance abuse at Dixon Correctional.
Okay. Was it living in balance?
No, sir, it was called substance.
What was it, Celebrate Recovery?
No, sir.
Was it Louisiana Risk Management?
No, sir.
Was it Residential Substance Abuse Program?
I believe that was it.
Okay. So what did you get out of that program?
Well, I learned that I had a problem. And I learned different ways of thinking and to program my brain to stay away from the triggers that did trigger those.
Okay. Name me 2 steps in a 12-step program.
First, you have to admit that you have a problem, and you have to change your people, places, and things.
Okay. Let me inform you that you have expressed opposition, and very strong expressed opposition, for the entire legal community. The judge that sentenced you has sent in a statement saying he's opposed to your early release. The DA's office is opposed. The sheriff's office is opposed. And the chief of police is also opposed in your jurisdiction. You have adamant opposition from the victim's family and the mother of the victim and the school where she attends school has submitted a letter of opposition saying that this child is emotionally, physically, and mentally affected by the offense you committed upon her. And she can hardly function in a school day without crying and going to the counselor's office to regain her composure. I thought you needed to know that. Tell us about your transition plan. What do you plan to live and what do you plan to work?
I plan on living on the family property
And my brother has opened up a cafe, and I plan on working there until I can find another suitable job also. I plan on keeping 2 jobs.
Okay, where's your family property?
My family property is in DeRidder, Louisiana. My brother's cafe is in Jennings, Louisiana. And I plan on finding a job closer to my residence in DeRidder.
Okay, just make sure there's no playground, daycare center, school, church, or any other facility that caters to juveniles or children, because you won't be allowed to live there.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wise, that completes my interview.
At this time, I see there's a speaker that's going to be speaking. Ms. Mosley, if you would, unmute your mic.
Yes, sir. My name is Monique
Okay,
Mosley.
ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Monique Mosley, and I'm Jonathan's sister. I'm the manager of the Economic Stability Office here in DeRidder, and I've been employed here for 19 years. As such, I have strong ties to this community and the people that reside here. I'd like to tell you a little bit of why Jonathan should be released and why I support this. Jonathan acknowledges his actions and behaviors that brought him to imprisonment. He demonstrates a strong desire to refrain from these behaviors in the future. He's had time to reflect on his past and how his actions have affected others. He regularly apologizes for the pain that he's caused during our phone conversations. He speaks positively about his release from prison and the difference that he can make as a productive member of society. Jonathan has a large family. Though his mother passed away while he's been incarcerated, our father and our many siblings are willing to help him, support him in any way that we can to help him adjust to life on the outside. Several of us reside on the property that he will be residing on, and we will support him in any way that we can. He has financial means to support himself already. He also has a residence and employment waiting for him when he's released. I believe that with the love and support of his family, Jonathan will make better decisions and will live a fulfilling life as a law-abiding citizen. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I was at this time, anything you'd like to say to the board? Jonathan, anything you'd like to say to the board? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir, I hear you. I want to thank y'all for the time. And I really do deeply regret my decisions and actions, and I will continue to further my rehabilitation and my strong support of family. And thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, Mr. Roche will be voting.
Mr. Trahan,
Yes, sir.
based upon adamant opposition from the victim's family and the emotional state of the victim as of now, opposition from the judge, opposition from DA's office, opposition from law enforcement. And I think you need additional programs like victim awareness, thinking for a change, and your sex offender treatment program is incomplete. My vote is to deny your request.
Ms. Bonnie Jackson.
Ms. Jackson, you're muted.
Hi, Mr. Trahan, I've listened to you, and for the same reasons as Mr. Roche, my vote today is going to be to deny There's opposition across the board from the entire legal community, opposition from the victim's family, and I think you need more programs. And as I sit here looking at you, Mr. Trahan, I just don't think you understand how you devastated this young girl's life. You kind of brush it off as if it was just kind of, oh, well, that happened. But this is going to follow her for the rest of her life. And I'm hoping that when you take more programs, particularly victim awareness, you'll start to understand that what you have done will affect this woman for the rest of her life. And I think you need to come to that recognition. So today my vote is going to deny. But I'm going to encourage you to stay and complete all phases of sex offender treatment. And I don't know if you have victim awareness available to you, but you certainly need to participate in that program. So good luck to you, but today my vote is to deny.
Strahan, one of the things I want you to do is complete all those programs, stay positive, work hard, and your day will be coming one day. But right now, I'm going to vote to deny strong law enforcement, and the same as my colleagues here today. Thank you very much.
We don't have any information on this case about what exactly happened, who she was in the relation, like, was she a relative? Was she, how old she was? But what I can tell you is that he was initially charged with aggravated sexual assault. They took a plea deal. Now, they ended up getting, a 15-year sentence, which is, whoa, hallelujah, Louisiana. That's a lot, right? Sometimes they just get a little slap on the wrist. But he took the plea deal, probably was facing, but just think about this. They said that they have to take her out of school. She break down and cry. So how old do you think she was, and how old do you think she is? She was probably just, we're talking about school. It doesn't sound like college. It doesn't even sound like it's high school. It's safe to assume that she was a little girl. And this wasn't his first offense. They just keep getting charged. These guys just keep doing it. And no one, and Louisiana just doesn't care. They just keep letting you do it over and over and over again. It's pathetic. It's sick. In this case, the judge said he's opposed. It's not often the judge comes out and says, I'm opposed. The DA says they're opposed. Of course, they won't show up and talk. That's too much to ask for from the DA, right? Too much to ask for. Well, you just need some more programs, a couple more programs, and then you can get back out into society. And like Miss Jackson said, this guy shows zero remorse. He doesn't care. He does not care. The idea that someone like this will be walking out in the street very soon. He's only 40 years old as it stands today. Even if he serves his entire sentence, he'll be, I think, 47 by the time he gets out. That's if he serves 100% of his sentence. And all he's going to have learned is try harder not to get caught. That is it. There's something very wrong with our system. People who do this to a child, cannot get these sentences, these minimum type sentences. It cannot happen. It has to stop. They are kicking the ball down the road. What is going to happen when he is out at 47 years old? Tell me. When he's your local barista? It's disturbing. The DA takes the time to write a letter, but they don't take the time to show up. Sick.